Recently came across this artist named KAMAUU, I think is how you would say it, and I've been having a really good time with this album, so it was a no-brainer for me to give it a review. Really, really good stuff. Very much in the soul, pop, R&B vein here. I don't think he's exactly reinventing any wheels or anything like that, but I don't think he's particularly doing anything in a really boring, stale way either, which can sometimes be one of the issues when you dive into albums similar to this. I think he has a lot of charisma coming out of his voice. He's just oozing with personality. He's oozing with confidence. And I really like the way he sounds over these instrumentals. A lot of them are really popping. A lot of them are really, really upbeat as well, which I really like. And it's kind of just sticking with me quite a lot. When I first heard it, I enjoyed it. But the more I keep going back to it, some tracks are just really, really growing on me like crazy, and I've just ended up finding lots to love about it. Switch Up opens the album up here. I feel like the guitar is super smooth. I feel like it has a bit more of like a calmer energy to it, but I really feel like the way he glides over this instrumental sounds really cool. And then Situations later on the album has a very similar vibe to this track, and I feel like both tracks coexist in a similar sort of feeling that he's offering on this album, because tracks like this can exist, but then also you've got the more vibrant moments as well, and the super anthemic, uplifting moments as well. The vibe being exactly that, man. What a track this is. Holy shit. The verses, he's kind of going for a bit more of like a rapping style to it, and then the chorus comes in and like the instrumentation just kind of crashes together. He just sounds so excited, and everything just feels so uplifting. It's awe-inspiring really, but it's just so bloody catchy at the same time. Like there's so many feelings that rush within me when he just kind of goes, "Is that about the vibe?" It just sounds so great. The line, "I'm from the lactose intolerant community," gotta be one of my favorite lines of the entire year, man. Just love this idea that there's like a community for lactose intolerant people. I just love that, man. It's such a funny way to word it. Flings as well, just oozing with a carefree feeling that I really like. The hook is just so fun, man, and there's a lot of hooks on this album like this too. I feel like he just has a really good way of just sounding really carefree and just sounding really just laid back, but also just bringing like this coolness to the track that just makes it really catchy and really replayable as well. I feel like Antidote is another track that provides something similar to that as well, particularly with the chorus where he's bringing in a huge like Smino influence. I feel like he must be a Smino fan, because this sounds so similar to everything that came from his last album, Smino's last album from last year, which was a great album too. So I feel like, again, if you're into that kind of thing and this kind of like fusion of neo soul sounds coming through with like a southern rap sort of feel at times as well, like the Smino album was doing, I feel like this album's totally for you. But also this track as well has a Koji Radical feature, which I'm a really big fan of also. The Don't Play With My Money track, which comes earlier on the album, has another feature that just brings this aggressiveness to the track. I mean, prior to that feature, the track feels very silly and playful, where, you know, KAMAUU's trying to talk about how he's going to slap you in the face if you try and take his money, and you're going to slap you in the face if you try and steal his art, and all that kind of stuff. It's all very silly and a really odd thing to hear in a track. You never really hear about someone slapping people in the form of a song very often. But then the feature comes in and he just kind of brings the same sort of idea and brings it like really aggressively. I'm not entirely sure this feature was necessary. It's only the final part of the track, and I think it probably would have just done better with the playfulness of KAMAUU coming through with these kinds of lyrics. But I do think the content of the track is interesting as well, because it's kind of like difficult to pin down who he's talking about exactly. Is he talking about record labels? He doesn't want people to play with his art. He doesn't want people playing with his money. But then also it kind of comes across like he's talking about people who maybe are just there for the fact that, you know, he might become famous one day, and he doesn't want that future potential to be just messed around with, and he doesn't want people who are going to use him. I'm not entirely sure which angle he's going from. Maybe it's a multitude of angles that he's going from here. I'm not entirely sure. But I do like how it kind of brings out an interesting thought process when you hear the song. He does go a little bit deeper into the emotions of things with Open Letter. I do feel like lyrically he could be a little bit stronger at times, not exactly pulling out the most inventive lyrics throughout this album, on most tracks really, but I do like it again when he goes a bit more of a somber mood and the tracks kind of become a bit mellower, because it's cool to see that even when he's a bit more animated and super lively and excitable, that he can actually rein that in on some tracks like this, Open Letter, and it ends up being really enjoyable, and it still provides a really nice listening experience. So yeah, there's lots to like from this album, you know, man. I feel like it's got a lot of creativity being poured into it with some of the tracks and the way that they're, you know, structured, with the instrumentation and his vocals kind of being erratic and all over the place and animated, as I've already said, but then also brings a more somber tone as well, and has some of these kind of slower, soulful R&B tracks that I really like as well. This is just a lot of fun from start to end. There's loads of influences being poured into it, and it just comes out as being one of my favorite albums of the year, one of the most replayable albums of the year so far for me as well. I'm gonna go 8 out of 10, you know, man. This is a super overlooked album from the year. There's loads of fun coming out of it, you know. Just listen to a track like The Vibe, listen to a track like Flings, listen to a track like Don't Play With My Money, listen to a track like Antidote, and I could imagine you having a good time. I feel like it is just very much a good time album. He's having a good ass time, and it's coming through, and you enjoy what he's going for across this album, man. It's really fun, and yeah, one of my favorites of the year so far. Super underrated so far as well. I feel, man, this is not going to get the props it deserves, but I could see a lot of people enjoying this, so it's kind of weird to see that it's not getting much hype. But I'm here to provide all the hype, as I ever do on this channel, for the albums that deserve it, the albums that need the justice. So hopefully you check it out based on this recommendation. If you have actually already heard it though, please do let me know what you think and tell me in the comments what your thoughts are. Do have a good day if you haven't already. That didn't make sense. Goodbye and subscribe. We'll just leave it there.